you want a pathway to a high-paying job and the respect that comes with a union contract, visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org. Are you looking for a good union job? The Inland Empire's 14,000-member-strong Teamsters Local 1932 has opened a training center to get working people trained and placed in open positions in public service clerical work and in jobs in the logistics industry. This is a new opportunity to advance your career and raise standards across the region. Visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org. Are you graduating high school soon and wondering what to do next? College is one option, but why not consider the high-paying jobs made possible by union power? Labor Union Teamsters Local 1932 has opened a training center to get you into the high school to high-paying job pipeline. You'll learn all the skills needed to excel in opportunities across industries. Visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org.
Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. Country thinks we're already in a recession. And, you look at the most recent polling that has come out, and the view is, 46% believe we're already there. We're already in the recession. This is what the media has done to us. Another 25% expect one very soon. So you've got a majority of the people going, hey, we're either there, we're getting there, because it's the message we keep hearing. And I had one of these conversations this weekend. Good guy. We have a new studio space being built, and we're doing had a guy who owns a small business, came and delivered our unit that we're going to be building out as our studio space. And in the conversation that I had with him, it was amazing the talking points that he just rattled off. First started off, the inflation's killing us, business is slow, all this stuff. And I said, well, what do you think the reason for the inflation is? And immediately, without missing a beat, without skipping a beat, without a thought, Biden gave away all that money. Had the answer ready. It was simple. It was easy to understand. And articulated a bit of the right-wing talking point of going, you gave all these people money who didn't work, and it's done all these horrible things. And you go, what did you do with the money that you got? We go, I paid bills. And what do you think the majority of Americans do? Now, again, the reason I bring this up is because this is a good guy, good, hard-working guy, older guy who, he's a Trump guy. He voted for Republicans. This is the line because of the talking points that he chose to use about the economy, about the state of education, about the state of the country. All of it was, your basic Fox News. And, I look at this poor guy, and I say this because my heart broke for him. Because here's a guy clearly has medical problems, told me that he had a certain medical condition that made it difficult for him to work. But there he was out there, he had a whole bunch of visible problems that you go, explain to me why it is that your thinking is the way it is. It comes back to, it's the media that's being force-fed to this person. So we had this conversation about what is and what isn't inflation, and what is causing it. And the more we discussed it, the more he's like, oh, that actually makes sense. That makes more sense. Good old-fashioned American greed makes a lot more sense than, we gave working people some money to get through a pandemic to put food on the table, to ensure that they didn't lose their homes or fall behind on their bills. We did that because, well, we didn't allow a lot of people to work. And it became one of these moments where you could see in this guy's head that something was moving. He was going, this makes a little bit different sense than just the very simplistic. Joe Biden gave away a bunch of money, and this is the great thing about right-wing arguments is they're very simplistic. They're very easy to digest. They're very easy to regurgitate. They're very easy to get behind because on a slight level, they make sense. The lowest common denominator argument makes sense. We gave irresponsible people a boatload of money and they spent it frivolously. And yet you go and you talk to people and you go, well, what did you do with what was given to you? During the pandemic, while people weren't working, what did you do with the extra unemployment benefit, with the food stamp money that was going out? What did you do with all of that? And to a person, they all come back with, I used it to make it till tomorrow. In essence, did what was expected, did what was planned. Now, are there criminals out there who were doing horrible things? Yeah, there were. There's always going to be a con. There's always going to be someone who's the a-hole. There's always going to be that guy. But you don't punish, people like this guy, salt of the earth guy, hardworking guy, and easy to pit against other working people. Because look, the guy's a hardworking guy. And you put that narrative out there. You go, there's a bunch of people out there who aren't working as hard as you. There are a bunch of people out there who are sucking off of your dime. They're taking your part of the pie. They're taking your cookie. And they get angry and they vote against their own interests. Because here's a guy who should be getting assistance, help with medical, help with wages, because clearly had some serious ailments. Now, the reason I bring up this funding stuff, because we're going to hear a lot about it here over the next several weeks. The GOP and the right-wing mouthpieces are doing the inoculation right now of getting people all bunched up in the panties. We're getting people all riled up because there are criminals out there. Because there's a new Government Accountability Office report out that's saying that because of the benefits that were handed out during the pandemic, there may be as much as $60 billion in fraudulent unemployment insurance claims that were out there. And I don't doubt that because our systems are so broken or so overtaxed, and our ability to ramp up and to actually do the work, that there were some things that slipped through. I don't doubt that at all. But you go, $60 billion is a lot of money, Rick. It's an awful lot of money, and it is. Except when you look at the fact that we gave out almost $900 billion and got it out the door as quickly as possible to ensure that people didn't lose their homes, ensure people didn't go hungry, ensure that the lights stayed on, that the economy didn't completely collapse. And this is not just defense of Joe Biden, it's also a defense of Donald Trump. Because remember, they pushed out a boatload of money as well. This was a bipartisan effort that now Republicans are going to use. Because remember, if you remember the Lindsey Graham, we're giving people extra money to be unemployed. They're too lazy to go back to work. They're now going to use this as that dividing tool. Because now we're going to be pitting neighbors against each other. Well, your neighbor got something that maybe you didn't get. You should turn them in. Now, understand, according to this Government Accountability Office report, they're saying that there's all these billions that were fraudulently paid out, and they're identifying it as it's waste, fraud, abuse, and mismanagement. But because remember, there were two different programs. There was the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program that for the first time gave unemployment benefits to freelance workers, self-employed workers, independent contractors, people who were not, W-2 employees. And then there was the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program that extended unemployment for traditional unemployment, people who maybe ran out of benefits on the state level, and then gave a little bit more, the 600 and eventually the 300, that helped people survive. Because understand, and this is one of those things that we talked about during the pandemic, that unemployment insurance only replaces about 40% of your income. And I think a lot of working people went, oh my goodness, I didn't realize it was this bad. Because, well, conservatives, my Republican friends for decades, have been attacking unemployment benefits under this guise of, the lazy people will suck it all dry. No, what a solid unemployment benefit gives you is the ability to be a little judicious in what jobs you take. You're not going to take the first poverty wage job, desperation class job that comes down the way. You're going to go and try and get something to stabilize your standard of living. And this, again, doesn't play well in GOP circles, because we want desperate, exploitable workers who are going to do the crummy jobs for poverty wages. Now, understand, I'm in favor, if you cheated in this system, if you went after and you used multiple social security numbers, and you went after and you used multiple email addresses to game the system, and you filed for dead people, if you did these things, then yeah, we should be seeking those folks out. If you were in federal prison, for instance, and you were collecting unemployment, that's not how this was supposed to work. Now, they're going to pursue states like California, New York, Pennsylvania. California, New York, Pennsylvania. What do those three states have overwhelmingly in common? There's something about those three states. What could that be? Could it be, I don't know, Democratic governors? Could it be, blue states that, voted against Donald Trump? Could that have something to do with the Republicans going, no, we're going to get to the bottom of this? Now, understand, I want criminals prosecuted. If you defrauded a system that I think we needed at the time, and you did it willingly, knowingly, with forethought and malice, there's a place for you, and that is jail, and we should be going after them. Here's my problem. My problem is I don't believe it ends there. I don't believe that's the end of the ballgame. I don't believe that Republicans go, no, we're going to get those criminals and only the criminals. What I think they're going to do is they're going to use this as a tool to just destroy these programs even further, because that, again, is their wet dream wish list. Destroy unemployment benefits, make people desperate, but also going to go after average, everyday working people in blue states. Now, they've tried to do this in some of like South Carolina and some of the states where they go, well, you weren't eligible for as much as you got, and now they want to claw that money back and basically force people into chaos. This is what Republicans are going to do over the next 2 years. It's about causing the cruelty, because, as I say all the time, the cruelty is the point. The absurdity of some of the things that they do, that's the point. The pain that they're going to inflict on working people is the point. Because after all, as I say, Republicans hate working people. Look at their policies. Now, this can be done in a way that will go after the criminals. Because even while it was going out the door, we knew, these agencies knew that there were people filing multiple claims under fictitious names, but they were paying it anyway because they were overworked, well understaffed, because we've been slicing and dicing government agencies for decades and underfunding. Here in this state, you can't, in my state of Pennsylvania, you can't fill out a paper application for unemployment. You got to do it on the phone and online, and the websites were crashing. So they were just trying to get money out the door to save the economy from collapsing. And yes, there were criminals, and I would argue a number of them bad foreign actors. Those people we go after. But, the neighbor who maybe got $50 more than they should have because some paperwork snafu or some, I'm not in favor of going after them. But they're going to. They're going to use this as an opportunity to crush working people so that you never have the audacity to file for unemployment again. Because again, it's about the pain. It's about the suffering. It's about the cruelty. Just my thoughts. Want to hear yours. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. You got a thought, question, comment? rick@thericksmithshow.com. Also give us a call, 1-866-416-RICK. 1-866-416-7425. Back after that.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania to the auto factories of Michigan to the modern makers movement, manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on. Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So some good news in Iowa and Wisconsin as the Case New Holland workers have agreed to a tentative agreement in their contract. You may remember from our Working Class Heroes radio tour, we met folks in Racine, Wisconsin, and Burlington, Iowa, as those guys have been on strike for 9 months. They've been on strike. This weekend, they voted overwhelmingly to accept the last offer, 62-37, and they will be going back to work here in the coming days. Wage increase bump up to 38% over the 4 years of the contract, up from 28%. They got some language on overtime. They stood up and they fought for what they needed. They demanded, and they fought. And they won. Now, they get everything they want? No, you never do. But this is a victory for the UAW members of Local 180 and 807. So shout out to those guys in Racine, Wisconsin, and Burlington, Iowa. Also, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. You may remember also while we were on tour, we stopped by the picket line at Ingredion. The Ingredion workers have also agreed to a tentative agreement, ending their what is nearly a 6-month strike. And again, back to they got better. They got much better than the initial offer. This is part of how this is played. Now, understand, Iowa is a no rights at work state. The threat had been, in both of these cases, to continue to use scabs and to replace these workers. So they stood up and they fought in the face of overwhelming obstacles, and good on them. They're going to be going back to work here in the coming days as well. Tomorrow on the program, we'll have one of the BCTGM representatives come and share some of the thoughts there. Also, shout out to our listeners in Los Angeles, the Teamsters Local 396, Republic Services workers in LA. They have won significant wage, pension, and health care increases in their contract. This is good on them. Industry leading contract. And this is what contracts are supposed to be about: raising conditions, raising people's ability to make ends meet, raising their ability to have a better standard of living. So good on them. If you've got thoughts on any activity going on, let us know. We'll get folks on to talk about it and share the good news. Because for me, every one of these victories is another positive that keeps the snowball growing and rolling, and encouraging others to do the same and stand up and fight for better wages, hours, conditions. Over the weekend, the anniversary of Roe, I believe someone told me it was the 50th anniversary. There were demonstrations across the country. I know a friend of mine was in Madison, Wisconsin, with like 3,000 people who came out to say, look, don't destroy women's ability to control their bodies, found an interesting quote. This Representative Jim Banks from Iowa, not from Iowa, from Indiana, was doing one of these right-wing radio programs, and the guy, the host of the program, is going on. We got to find a way to stop these young ladies from hopping in a car and going an hour and a half away and getting that abortion care because we're taking it away here. And Representative Banks agreed with him that we've got to stop these women from leaving the state. And in my mind went, of course, these are the papers, please people. These are the people who, you remember their immigration policy was, chipping immigrants. Is that the future? I mean, I come back to this, and what's frightening to me is there's no depths which these people will not stoop. There's nothing too extreme for them to enact their control. Now, remember, these are the same people who tell you, we want small, less intrusive government. We want to live our lives. We want to be left alone, except, in your personal decisions. This is going to be the next battlefront. Understand, the right wing, now that they have won their right to overturn Roe on the federal level, they're going to fight in the states to make it illegal in states, and they're going to beat up on corporations who have this in their health care. Any contraception is coming. We're going to go back 50 years. We're going to go back 60 years. And that's where the Jim Bankses of the world want us to go. And again, they're going to divert us with all kinds of other schemes, all kinds of other outrage. But what it's really about is about power and control. And the world that they envision for us, and this is where we've got to, as working people, have got to go, what kind of a world do we want to live in? What kind of an economy do we want to have? What kind of society do we want to leave to our children? Do we want them to have more or less rights than we have today? What I see coming out of the Republican Party right now is very theocratic, the Christo-fascist kind of stuff. The really frightening kind of, as I say all the time, Christian Sharia law, where women are second-class citizens. And as the father of two young women, that's not something I can tolerate. Now, I've said before, I'm personally not in favor of abortion. I would hope that if my daughters got pregnant, that they would not go that route, that there would be other avenues available. But that's their choice. At no point should I or any other man tell them, especially not Jim freaking Banks, what they have to do and what they cannot do with their own bodies. I'm struggling with that. Again, I'm with you on we want less intrusive government. We want government to do the things we want them to do, but I don't know. This papers, please mentality, we're going to stop people from crossing borders? Because this is what they're saying. If you live in Indiana, you can't go to Michigan. You can't go to Illinois. They got to set up checkpoint Charlie on the freeway there. They'll have big boxes on 80 taking pregnancy tests before you can get out of the state. I mean, is this where we go? And sadly, I can envision that. I can see that coming out of these people. And we should be frightened because it's now the women folk. I go back to that Pastor Niemöller quote from World War II. First they came for the Jews, and I said nothing because I wasn't Jewish. And then they came for the trade unionists, and I said nothing because I wasn't a trade unionist. And then they came for the socialists, and I said nothing and by the time they came for me, there was nobody to say anything for me. This is one of those moments. Now again, what's interesting to me is, and I've said this all along, if you want people to have children, if you want to encourage people to have children, conditions are important. Jobs, education, healthcare, opportunities. Make this a place that you want to bring children in, not a place that you have to, not a place where you're being punished. Is that difficult? Now, again, I've been scouring the state legislatures and our congressional geniuses like Jim Banks to find that legislation that's going to make sure that every kid gets fed, Going to make sure that every kid gets an education, every kid gets health care, that every parent has a job that can support a family. I've been looking for this legislation. It ain't there. I do know there's a guy, his name is Joe Biden, who has said in the next 7 years we're going to end childhood hunger. Sounds like a good idea. Think we're going to get the Republicans on board to help with that? I wouldn't hold my breath. Most certainly. Especially if we have to tax rich people to do it. Love to hear your thoughts. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, the other scheme, we're the hostage situation. Well, it's ramping up as we have to we got to destroy Social Security. How else can we save it? How else can we save it? Right back.
We've been farming the same farm for 3 generations, and it's just always been where I've wanted to be. Any farmer you talk to in Montana will tell you that the climate is definitely changing. The weather is way more extreme. We went from the wettest year we've ever had to this year with the worst drought we've had since the 80s. We've done everything we can to keep water going, but it got close to running out. Farmers can't afford the cost of climate change. Congress has to get this done.
It takes a lot to raise a family. A good job, a good salary, and some patience. A lot of people my age are drowning in college debt, but I chose a different path. I'm a member of the IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I work hard for my job, and I love what I do. I had a lot of choices for my future, but I made the best choice for my family. IBEW, the right choice.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So again, find it interesting. The first club out of the bag that Republicans pull out is, hey, we've got to save that Social Security. And how are we going to save it? Well, we're going to save it by destroying it, of course. We're going to push the retirement age off. In fact, I was reading a story over, I think it was over at the F channel, where they were saying, hey, sorry, but we have to raise the retirement age. We don't have a choice. We got to do it. It's got to go to 70 or 75 or wherever the number was. And immediately my mind goes to, do you remember last week in France where they talked about raising the retirement age from 62 to 64 and they were literally shutting the country down? It's kind of what we need to be doing in this country if we're going to save Social Security for working people. I know the Republican fix. They've got a Trust Them Act, and I trust that they're going to destroy it for you and me. And here to share some thoughts on how we defend and hold on to our Social Security, I've asked Alex Lawson to come talk with us. He's the executive director of Social Security Works. SocialSecurityWorks.org is the website. Alex, thanks for taking time for us.
Thanks for having me.
So the frame, you think I'm off base here? The frame is, we got to save it, Alex. We're going to save Social Security. Only we're going to make sure that nobody gets it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing Social Security needs saving from is the politicians who keep saying they want to save it. I'm serious. They're the biggest threat to Social Security by far and away. The thing I've spoken to a lot of media recently because, right, the debt ceiling is happening. The Republicans, as you said, out of the gate, they're like, yeah, we're definitely going to cut Social Security. That's what we do. And not you, but the media, the corporate media, they're like, where did this come from? And I have to restrain myself in those channels. But here I'm like, what do you mean? This is what they always do. Just because you don't listen, or you listen to Glenn Kessler in the Washington Post, who literally this election cycle, fact-checked Patty Murray, because Patty Murray said that her opponent wants to cut Social Security. And Glenn Kessler rated it false because the guy said that he wanted to restrain entitlements. And I'm like, oh, so if they don't literally say the words, I'm going to reach my hand into your pocket and steal your Social Security benefits. You just have to be like, I don't know. I don't know what their plans are. They're not clear about it. It's ridiculous. They say it every day. And it's not like some random, the random ones definitely say it as well. But we're talking, Rick Scott wrote it down in his platform, right? Ron Johnson said, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this every year. I'm going to take a hatchet to Social Security. Every single one of these guys is in some way said, because they have to, and you know that, Rick, They have to make their bones on killing Social Security. Otherwise, the billionaires who actually call the shots won't give them any money.
Yep.
That's what it's all about. Their billionaire funders demand this of them. So when the media is like, where did this come from? I'm like, it's written into their heart. They carved it into their heart. Ever since Francis Perkins and the New Dealer created Social Security, the Republicans have been trying to destroy it. They fought the creation of it for decades, right? I mean, it was only in the crisis of the Great Depression that progressives were able to create this. And so it is the thing that they do. It's their North Star and constellation of bad ideas. Their North Star is destroying Social Security. It's so important to them that they're using holding the world economy hostage. They're saying, we're going to literally blow up the world economy unless you cut Social Security benefits.
Yep.
I just want to like...
No, it's important to point that out. And the other part that's important to point out is Social Security has nothing to do with the debt ceiling. It's by law. By law, it cannot add to the debt or deficit. It cannot do that. And yet, again, as we've been saying, very telling that this is the first club out of the bag. Kick working people while they're down. Take what little that working people have. And look, if Social Security's got problems, we can solve those problems pretty simple. My view is scrap the cap. Make sure that Bezos and Buffett and Gates and Musk, they pay the same percentage that I pay.
Absolutely, on all of their income. And you know, Social Security really doesn't have a problem. America has a problem. It has a billionaire problem. It has a rich people don't want to and do everything. They will rip this country apart rather than pay their fair share of taxes. And they got all their wealth from this country, from the public resources and investments that we've made. You scratch a billionaire and you're going to find that there's upward redistribution of wealth that's putting the money in their pocket. They didn't build it. I mean, Amazon, you said Bezos. Do you remember how Amazon was created? They just were like, oh, it's on the internet. I guess they don't pay sales tax, right? I mean, like that was the whole thing. And it just bankrupted all these mom and pop stores because they're like, wait, why do we have to pay sales tax? And I mean, like, this is the world that we live in where you have case after case after case. I won't just go through them all, but these billionaires, you know, they have to pretend like they created all of this when they didn't, through some trick of greed, luck, you know, I don't know.
But it plays that narrative.
Lack of moral focus. But then for some reason where they always come down on is like, and that's why we have to destroy Social Security. And I do have a theory on this, Rick. I think it's because Social Security works so well at doing what it does that it embarrasses the entire worldview, so-called philosophy of the conservatives, right? That government can't do anything, that the people can't do anything by standing together and having the government work for us, which it is, you know, and they say, oh, the private industry could do it better. Private industry looks at Social Security and they can't, you know, Wall Street is the private industry here. They just can't keep their greedy hands off it. They want to steal all that money. The private industry cannot do what Social Security does. And that's why I think the billionaire class hate it so much, is it puts the lie to their whole thing. So yeah, Social Security doesn't need saving from anyone other than the billionaires and the politicians who do their bidding. But it certainly does need protecting from them because, as we've noted a few times, this is the biggest weapon in their arsenal, is holding the debt ceiling hostage. And they're doing it to demand cuts to your and my Social Security.
While simultaneously saying that they want to raise prices on everything 30%. By this scam of a tax code that would cause massive inflation. I mean, you know, I was having a conversation with a guy over the weekend. I said, you know, if the Republicans get their idea, because you go, I'm all in favor of a flat tax. I go, do you know what they're saying? They're saying they're going to raise the price of everything 30%. The vast majority of working people do not pay 30% in federal income tax. That means massive tax increase on working people. And, well, you know, huge cuts on the very wealthy because they don't consume at the rate that working people do.
Yeah. It's, you know, that one, I can see like a little bit how it confuses people because our tax system is really not well understood. But when you explain it like you just did, I mean, you can watch people, they're like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I want the rich to pay more in. And you're like, that's not this. This is the opposite of that. That is, we need to increase our progressive income tax on billionaires. We need a wealth tax. We need to bulk up our estate tax. I think that there should be somewhere close to a 99% estate tax on estates over $5 billion. That level of wealth is very destructive to the fabric of our nation, to civility, to the functioning of our country. And an estate tax is super fair. Right? It's not even on a person. It's on a thing that doesn't exist if there's not a functioning state, the estate. So there's so many things that we can do. The big problem, as I think I've said it, we're sort of dancing around it, is that the corporate media is the billionaire class, right? Like it's the same thing. So everyone's getting their information from the billionaire class, and the corporate media is like, oh, we don't know. We have no idea where all these problems are. Who knows how to solve it?
Yeah.
And you're like, it's
amazing.
you.
Yeah.
You are the guy dressed as a hot dog being like, we're all trying to figure out what's happening here. And so it's so critical that your voice is out here, and we need to make sure that we tell this story. Republicans are coming for your Social Security. If we stand together, we will defeat them like we have before.
There you go. You're listening to the Rick Smith Show with Alex Lawson. Alex is the executive director of Social Security Works, socialsecurityworks.org, the website, if you want to check out more on what they do. Now, interesting, you point out how simplistic the messaging is. I mean, because you've got it right. The message is very simplistic, but they use simplistic messaging as well. People are living longer, Alex. You can't be sucking off the government teat for 20, 30 years because people are living longer. So the natural reaction is, of course, we have to raise the age that people are going to be able to get Social Security so we can make it further down the road without actually looking at what that would do to society and the kind of pain and suffering that it would cause for working people. And I come back to Republicans do this knowing the pain and the suffering that their policies cause, because that's the point. The cruelty really, really is the point.
I agree. I think that their policies have to really be a banger in the policy realm for them. It has to be both cruel and stupid, right? It has to be really cruel. It hurts the people that that it hurts people, and then stupid. It has to not do what it says it's going to do, right? So when they break things, when they break the post office, the postal service, or try to, that doesn't make mail work better. It's not like, oh yeah, that added things to the system. When they break public education, that doesn't help things, right? It's the exact same sort of motivation as when corporations say, oh yeah, just give us the monopoly here and we'll pass all the savings on to the people. You're like, how many times do we have to go down the same path before? And the answer is, unfortunately, it's a dynamic system. We have to fight this fight every time. And they have simple messaging, and I do think that the left oftentimes doesn't. But we can do it too. They want us to work until we die. People don't want to work until they die. So their ideas are deeply unpopular. I will also say, on raising the retirement age to be the sort of too complicated, I like the pithy one. They want us to work till we die. But also, it's just a benefit cut, because the retirement age isn't when you actually retire. It's just the age at which your full benefits are calculated from. So each year from it, if you retire early on Social Security, you have a 7% benefit cut. If you retire later per year, you get a 7% benefit increase. So all they're saying, without saying it, because they're cowards who won't tell the American people what they want to do, is the proposal to raise the retirement age, which is actually the full benefit age, to 70, is a 21% benefit cut. A 21% benefit cut. That's what they're proposing. And then if you ask the real dummies in the Republican study caucus in the House, they're proposing the 75 age, right? The 75-year age. It's a 56% benefit cut. I mean, what world are these people on? And I'll tell you, they're on an unaccountable world, because if the American people knew that that's what they were proposing, we would see 2 million people in the street, like France had when there was a proposal to raise their retirement age. I think 62 to 65 is what I'm pretty sure that they were talking about in France.
Yeah,
That's
64. 62 to 64, just 2 years. And look, the reality is we're still 3 years beyond what they were proposing,
Yeah.
and they're fighting to hold on to it. And this is where I keep coming back to, as working people, we've got to be acting in our own best interest, because Social Security, whether you like it or not, is the best anti-poverty program that has ever been passed in the history of society, in my view. This is taking generations of seniors out of poverty, out of eating cat food, out of living in destitute lives, and giving them pride and dignity in their final years. We should all want that.
Absolutely. And I mean, the system works so well, not just for people who retire, but definitely for people who are lucky enough to retire. That should be our goal. We should all want to have some years where we're not working, where we're not, grinding out the living. That's possible in the richest country on earth. It's also possible to have disability insurance, which is what Social Security also is. People face a life-altering accident or illness in their life. They can no longer work. Social Security is there for you. The breadwinner in the family dies. The minor children receive Social Security benefits. It's there for children who lose a parent.
That's something that Paul Ryan and I share.
And all of that is done with, I know you know this, but less than 1% administrative costs to administer the whole system, a universal system that's there for all of us. It ensures all of us right now against these things. And that's, Wall Street looks at that and says, man, I want that money. We would definitely charge 30-40% on that so that I could get another yacht. And that's what Social Security represents to them, a threat, because it works. Everything that works, they hate. They like chaos and things that don't work. They come after public education because it works. They come after Social Security because it works. That's the billionaire's game. And, I do think it's a lot to do with the corporate media is why we don't have as much organized resistance, and we don't see, protest movements as large as in France. Because they muddy the water. They really have made an art out of lying to the American people about what they are trying to do.
The other part of it, Alex, is I've had a number of people tell me that you're just going off about this. It's never going to pass. So why are you getting all upset? I'm getting all upset because they really want to do this. This is on their wet dream bucket list. They want this more than anything, and yet it keeps coming up over and over and over again to where eventually someday they're going to get it.
Yeah, and I think there's our whole system is pretty ridiculous. It's like people are told like, oh well, this just passed, and they mean passed the House, and they're like, oh yeah, it's got 55 in the Senate, but it doesn't beat the filibuster. Oh well, the parliamentarian ruled it out of order. Like all of that is to make the system so incomprehensible that people have to be in Washington D.C. just to follow along. So I don't think that almost anyone recognizes the magnitude of the threat that they're using, the holding the debt ceiling hostage. And strangely here, because it is the billionaires who generally are always in charge of the tax on Social Security, you can watch financial press right now. They're the only ones who understand the magnitude of, the holding the debt ceiling hostage. They're saying, well, give the Social Security cuts, because if the debt ceiling is breached, global financial meltdown. They're the ones who understand the magnitude of it, and it doesn't have to pass. It doesn't have to do all of these. When we were trying to pass lowering drug prices, for example, right? Like how many iterations did people hear about and not understand as it got watered down and down and down? Well, that's why this is such an important setup for them, and they basically have one, maybe two in an administration where they're not trying to pass something. They're holding something hostage that if it doesn't happen, the whole global economy blows up. The magnitude would be larger than the Wall Street caused collapse in 2008. That's what we're talking about. And I do agree. There's this wonderful it's an inability sometimes of the American people because they're like good and great, right? They go out, they work hard, they follow the rules, and you tell them like, hey, the Republicans really want to destroy Social Security, and they're like, no, I don't think that it can't be that bad because they can't conceive of that, right? Because they're like, no, I would never. What do you mean? Grandma loves it, or my mother loves it, or I love it. Like they can't conceive of the greed and evilness that it would take to actually try to push this plan. So it's like some sort of decency trap. The American people just can't believe, because they're very decent, how indecent so many of these politicians and their billionaire paymasters are.
No, I go back to it. The cruelty is the point, and taking this away would just mind blowing. Mind blowing. Last question I've got for you: how do we fight back against this? What are the marching orders for people when they wake up in the morning, and what actions should they be taking?
So we've come at it with two main strategies here. One of them, the Republicans are attacking Social Security. Do not let them hide from that. So we have a tracking team up on the Hill, which is just producers with cameras, and we're asking every Republican that we see, how big are the cuts to Social Security that you're talking about? And we got pay dirt with this guy, Rick Allen from Georgia, who was like, I want to raise the retirement age. And we will just keep doing that, exposing the Republicans. But people can do that as well. If you have the ability to talk to your elected representatives who are Republican, ask them straightforwardly about their plans to cut Social Security, and expose the Republican plans to cut Social Security. Don't let them hide. The other stream is to demand that the Democrats pledge absolutely no cuts. And we did this previously in 2011, the last time we faced this threat. We're going to get every single Democrat on record saying no cuts to Social Security or Medicare. And that's not that hard of an ask. I mean, like, obviously, morally, ethically, they should be there. But politically, President Biden has said that consistently and loudly the whole time. So all we're going to be asking Democrats to do is just get to where the president is. And we feel like we can get the entire caucus, 100% of the Democrats, to take a pledge that says no cuts to Social Security and Medicare. And at the same time, expose the Republicans that that's what they want to do. And what we think that'll do is it'll squeeze some of those 18 Republicans who are in districts that Biden won. And remember, we only need to switch about 5, 6, depending on the day. They have to vote with the Democrats, and then we can move a clean debt ceiling raise. So those two streams, holding the Republicans accountable, not letting them hide, and then demanding that Democrats take a pledge or promise not to cut a single penny from Social Security or Medicare. And we're going to be running campaigns on both of those. So you can follow that. Go to socialsecurityworks.org, sign a petition. You'll be right in the thick of things there. We're on social media, SS Works on Twitter. You can follow along there. It's a distributed action as well, because you can call your elected representatives who are Democrats and say, hey, take this pledge, promise not to cut Social Security and Medicare. If they're Republicans, get them on the record about their plans for Social Security.
No, it's something we've got to fight for. And, as you're talking, my mind's going to this place of, what does this country look like without Social Security? What does my life look like? When my mother passed, when I was 13, my grandparents were able to take care of me because of the Social Security survivor benefit. My grandparents were able to live out their lives with dignity in their homes because of their savings, their union pension, and Social Security and Medicare. So a world without these things, I don't know, back to what you said a moment ago, that I don't think most people can with their brains, being good, decent people, can imagine a country without them. But yet we've got a political party that, as I say all the time, Republicans hate working people. Just look at what they're doing. This is what they're really trying.
Absolutely, they are. And I mean, the world is easy. You can read about it. 1 in 2, 50% of seniors lived in poverty. There was a poorhouse in every single state in the country except New Mexico, I think because it was sparsely populated. Never figured that one out. If any of history buffs are your audience, I'm always interested in why no poorhouse in New Mexico. But everywhere else, there are poorhouses That's where working people who exhausted their wages, their savings, and didn't have family to support them, that's where they went. They were locked in. These are debtors' prisons. Social Security and Medicare erased the whole concept from Americans' brains. We don't even know that there were poorhouses here. There were in every single state. That's the world that the billionaire class, they pine to return to that. They pine to return to a time when working people had absolutely no shot. You know, now we have, maybe there's a small shot, but for a life where you can retire with dignity, you know, there's still way too much risk for everyone there. But it's far better than a place where you got put in the poorhouse if you ran out of money and they locked the doors at night. That's the world the Republicans want to return to.
There you go. Alex Lawson, appreciate the time, man. Director of Social Security Works, socialsecurityworks.org. Quick break, right back.
The best way to strengthen America's economy? How about investing in America's fastest growing industry, clean energy? We're talking jobs, millions of them, the type that pay well and can't be outsourced. Because the thing about clean energy, it's all right here, American made. It means lower utility costs for families, and it's how we take on climate change. An investment in clean energy is a big win. Congress, let's get it done.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Check out our website, thericksmithshow.com. Got an email from Jason. Jason asks, do you think the President of the United States will even allow the Teamsters to strike at UPS? I'm unsure after the railroad fiasco. Different sets of laws, Jason. Different outcomes. There's really no lever in the private sector for the president to demand they go back to work like there is on the railroad. I mean, the different laws. The rail workers covered by the Railway Labor Act. The UPS workers will be covered under the National Labor Relations Act. Very different. The Railway Labor Act gives Congress the ability to say, no, you're going to get what you get and you're not going to throw a fit. No striking. They have that ability. Now, again, I think the president, the messaging out of it was all the wrong stuff. And I had said, months earlier when someone had asked, do I see a railroad strike happening? I said, no, I don't foresee them being allowed to strike. If they are, it's going to just be a very, very short, planned, afternoon. It's not going to be a prolonged strike because it is such a vital part of our economy, especially coming out of the pandemic with all the things that are going on. It would be an economic nightmare, and it would be really harmful to the Biden administration if they allowed that to happen. As pro-workers they are, and look, I believe they are, they were never going to shoot the hostage. They were never going to allow that to happen. Now, do I think they should have messaged it a lot better? Absolutely. And I said from the beginning, they should have come out the next day and said, look, we're going to move legislation to make sure that workers get sick time. We're going to make sure that every worker gets sick time as a call to arms for everybody. That didn't happen. And there's a bunch of reasons for that on all sides of the aisle. Some of the unions weren't communicating. The legislators weren't on the same page, and the administration was caught unaware. They really thought that the deal was done, and a lot of people did. I had talked about it, a month earlier, saying, I'm not sure. I'm hearing rumblings, but the one thing I was positive of, they weren't going to be allowed to strike. The UPS situation, a little bit different. And I've got, people emailing me all the time going, on both sides, we want to strike. This has to happen. We're going to show them. And then people on the other side going, well, maybe we not. Because understand, a strike is the drastic measure. Nobody wants a strike. It's painful. It's economic pain. It's harmful to a company. Look, I've been on strike before. The company was hurt by it. That's part of the deal. It's part of why you do it. To cause that economic pain, to bring them to the table, hammer out the best agreement. I'm hopeful that UPS isn't going to push into the place where a strike is there. And as I understand, the issues are many and varied. The economic part, especially for the part-timers, is huge. The surveillance and the harassment part for the package drivers and the feeder drivers, huge. Will there be a way forward? We're going to find out. And as I said, before, this is a moment where Sean O'Brien has the opportunity to get on that wall of legendary labor leaders by getting an agreement that's going to be transformative in the industry. And something that the FedEx workers, something that, Amazon workers of the future are going to look at and go, we want that. We don't want to be just marginal. We want to be better. And UPS is the company that can make that happen. We're talking billions and billions of profits that these workers have worked for. With UPS is one of those things, and I had someone not too long ago come on and talk about this. They don't produce anything. They don't make anything. Everything that they make, all the profits that they make are because of the labor of their Teamster members. The people out there, driving the trucks and pounding the pavement and delivering the packages. That's the business. If you're not compensating them, if you're not treating them fairly, there's going to be a consequence. And I'm still not 100% sure in either direction. And this is a good place for O'Brien to be, where the want for a strike is there. I talked to a lot of UPSers who are saying it's time. It's time to go. It's time to fight. It's time to take this to the streets. It's time to demand. And there are some who are saying, look, we want to hammer out the best agreement. And if striking is the option, well, we might have to use it. Don't want to. But do I think the administration is going to stop it? No. Because there are other options. The Postal Service, there's Amazon who will ramp up hugely. FedEx, there are other options. As for the railroads, there aren't. So that's my thoughts. Appreciate the email. And if you've got questions, comments, something on your mind, I want to hear it. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you miss any portion of the program, make sure you grab the podcast wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You'll find ours. Also, like I said, question, comment.
We're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM. The station that leaves no listener behind.
You worked hard.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. Police say 6 people were killed in shootings in a small Mississippi town. A suspect is in custody. It happened in Arcabutla, near the Tennessee state line. Officials believe the man in custody acted alone, and they do not have a motive yet. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine says the plume of chemicals that spilled into the Ohio River in East Palestine after a fiery train derailment is broken up and is no longer a health concern. But a clinic is being set up for people concerned about their health.
Residents deserve an answer. They have suffered a great deal. This has been a traumatic time for them. This has been a horrific train derailment, and we understand, have some understanding of what they've gone through.
People in East Palestine have complained about lingering headaches and irritated eyes. There have been complaints about response to the derailment. 5 fired police officers in Memphis pleaded not guilty to murder and other charges connected to the violent arrest of Tyree Nichols. Benjamin Crump is a family attorney.
It's important that we move swiftly towards justice, so we don't want there to be any unnecessary delays in prosecuting this case.
The judge asked for everyone's continued patience and continued civility, stressing this case could take some time. Flights have been stopped at Houston's Hobby Airport. A small jet slid off a runway onto a grassy area located between 2 runway safety areas. Airport officials tweeted everyone on board the jet is safe and had deplaned. There was some damage to the plane. The Justice Department searched the home of former Vice President Mike Pence's Washington Advocacy Group for several hours today as part of its investigation into the discovery of sensitive documents at